I'm Lauren Bennett, and I'm 30 years old. 4 weeks ago, I woke up in a hospital bed with a fractured collarbone, four broken ribs, and a concussion so severe that the doctors were worried about possible brain bleeding. My 8-week-old daughter, Mia, was with someone else. While paramedics were cutting me out of my totaled Honda, I hired an experienced newborn care specialist over the phone. The crash was not my fault. A delivery truck ran a red light at 55 miles per hour and struck the driver's side of my car. My vehicle spun across 4 lanes. I remember the metal grinding, the airbag exploding, and then darkness, followed by distant sirens. When I regained consciousness in the ambulance, my first words were about Mia. "Hi," I said through the oxygen mask. 8 weeks old, at home with a neighbor. I need someone. The paramedic, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes, squeezed my hand. "We'll help you figure it out. Try to stay calm." But I couldn't. Mia was exclusively breastfed and had never taken a bottle. My neighbor, Mrs. Liu, was 72 and had only agreed to watch her during my quick 25-minute grocery run. It had already been 55 minutes, and instead of heading home, I was being rushed to the emergency room. With shaking hands and blurred vision, I called my mother from the ambulance. She answered on the third ring. "Lauren, I'm at the spa." "Mom," I said, my voice unsteady. "I've been in a serious car accident. I'm in an ambulance. Mia is at home with Mrs. Liu. Can you please pick her up? I don't know how long I'll be." "A car accident?" she replied with a heavy sigh. "Are you sure it's that serious? You tend to overreact." I could hear water running, soft music, and the clink of glasses in the background. "My car is destroyed. I have a head injury. They're taking me to County General. I just need you to get Mia." "County General? That's 90 minutes from here. I'm in the middle of a seaweed wrap. Can't Daniel handle it?" "He's in Dallas for work. He won't land for another 4 hours. Mom, she's 8 weeks old." There was muffled conversation, then my sister laughing in the background. My mother returned to the line. "Lauren, your sister and I are leaving for our Caribbean cruise tomorrow morning. We booked the pre-cruise spa package months ago. It's already paid for." My head was pounding. Every sentence felt heavier than the last. "Mom, this is an emergency. Your granddaughter needs—" "Your sister never has these emergencies," she interrupted, her tone sharper. "Samantha has 2 children and has never called me in a panic. You need to be more organized and responsible." "I didn't plan to be hit by a truck," I said. "You should have backup plans. That's what responsible parents do. I can't drop everything every time you have an issue. We've been planning this cruise for 8 months." The ambulance hit a pothole and pain shot through my chest. "Are you listening to me?" I asked. "This is exactly what worries me," she continued. "Always chaos. Always needing help. I raised you to be independent, but you still call me whenever something goes wrong." The paramedic watched me carefully. She could hear everything on speaker. "I'm not asking you to cancel your cruise," I said. "Just watch Mia for a few hours until I arrange something else." "Lauren, I'm leaving tomorrow. I need to pack and prepare. Your father and I deserve this vacation. We won't let your poor planning ruin it." "Poor planning?" My voice broke. "I was hit by a truck." "I'm sure you're fine. You're talking, aren't you? You've overestimated medical issues before. Remember when you thought you had appendicitis and it was gas? Or pneumonia and it was just a cold?" I closed my eyes. She had dismissed me then, too. "This is different," I said. "You always say that. I need to go. My wrap is getting cold. Call a friend or hire a sitter. You make good money. Solve it." The call ended. I stared at my cracked screen. Her contact photo, taken last Christmas, showed her smiling proudly while holding Mia. I thought becoming a grandmother might soften her. I was wrong. The paramedic gently touched my arm. "Is there anyone else you can call?" I scrolled through my contacts. My best friend Rachel was in Seattle for a conference. Daniel's parents were in Arizona. Mrs. Liu couldn't manage a newborn much longer. Then I found it. Elite Newborn Care, saved months earlier when I was pregnant and researching childcare options. They offered 24/7 emergency services. With the paramedics' help, I called. "Elite Newborn Care, this is Karen." "I need help," I said. "I'm in an ambulance after a car accident. My 8-week-old daughter is home with an elderly neighbor who can't care for her long term. I need someone immediately. She's exclusively breastfed." "We can have someone there within 50 minutes, Karen replied calmly. "Where is the baby?" I gave her the address. She asked clear professional questions: medical concerns, available supplies, which hospital I was being taken to. Our specialist, Emily, will arrive in 45 minutes, Karen said. She's a registered nurse with 18 years of neonatal experience. She'll coordinate pump milk with the hospital if possible, or provide formula if needed. Don't worry, we've got your daughter. How much will this cost? Our emergency rate is $85 per hour with a 5-hour minimum. For now, focus on your medical care. We'll handle the rest. I almost cried. There was no judgment, just support. Thank you, I said quietly. You're welcome. We'll care for her like our own. The rest of the day blurred into doctors, scans, and bright lights. A CT scan of my head, x-rays of my chest and shoulder. Medication dulled the pain, but one thought stayed clear. My mother had refused to help her granddaughter. While a nurse stitched a cut on my forehead, my phone rang. It was Daniel. I just landed and saw your messages. Are you okay? Is Mia okay? I told him everything. The accident, my mother's refusal, the emergency care service. She said no? His voice rose. She refused to watch her own grandchild during a medical emergency? I don't care if she's meeting a world leader tomorrow. You were in a crash. He took a breath. I'm catching the next flight back. I'll be there in 2.5 hours. What about your presentation? It doesn't matter. My wife is in the hospital. That was when I started crying. Not from pain, but because his immediate response showed what family support should look like. It made my mother's reaction harder to ignore. After I was admitted overnight for observation, I did something I had considered for years but never acted on. I opened my banking app and reviewed my automatic transfers. When I was 19 and started my first job after college, my parents said they were struggling with their mortgage because Dad's hours had been cut. I began transferring $4,200 per month to a separate account, which then paid their mortgage automatically. They never knew it was me. For 120 months, 10 years, that payment covered their mortgage and left enough for car expenses. It helped fund spa days, Caribbean cruises, and shopping trips with my sister. It allowed my father to retire at 63 instead of 67. $4,200 times 120 months is $504,000. I had paid over $500,000 to keep them comfortable. Yet my mother couldn't spare 2.5 hours for her granddaughter. I canceled the automatic transfer. Then I opened a new savings account and named it Mia's Future. I set up the same $4,200 monthly transfer, this time for my daughter. My finger paused briefly over the confirmation button. Then I pressed it. A nurse checked my vitals shortly after. You look better, she said. There's color back in your face. I just made a decision I should have made years ago, I replied. She smiled. Those are usually the right ones. Around 7:30 p.m., there was a knock on my hospital door. I expected Daniel. Instead, a tall man in his 70s walked in, gray hair, bright blue eyes, wearing a cardigan despite the California heat. It was my grandfather, my mother's father, the man who taught me to fish, bought my college textbooks when I couldn't afford them, and still gave me $200 every birthday for something meaningful. Grandpa, I said, trying to sit up despite the pain. How did you find out? I asked. Mrs. Liu called me, Grandpa said, pulling a chair closer to my hospital bed. She said you were in an accident and that my daughter refused to help with the baby. She overheard your phone call when you stopped by to pick up Mia. Before the paramedics took me to the hospital, I had stopped at Mrs. Liu's house. Emily, the care specialist, met me there. Mrs. Liu looked disturbed by what she had heard. Grandpa, I'm okay. Mia has a professional caregiver. Everything is handled. Stop, he said gently but firmly. Don't minimize this. He sat quietly for a moment, studying me. Your grandmother and I paid for that cruise, he added. I blinked. What? Your mother has been talking about that Caribbean cruise for months. We paid for it as an anniversary gift, $14,500 for the premium package. He shook his head. I thought we were giving them something meaningful. I didn't realize we were funding their excuse to abandon their daughter and grandchild. You didn't know, I said. I called your mother an hour ago, his voice sharpened. I told her I knew what happened. Do you know what she said? I waited. She said you were exaggerating, that you were fine, that you've always been too dependent and needed to learn to manage on your own. He leaned forward. Then she said, Mia isn't my responsibility. Lauren chose to have a child. She has to deal with the consequences. Consequences? I repeated. She had referred to my daughter as a consequence. That's when I canceled the cruise. My eyes widened. You what? I called the cruise line. As the purchaser, I had the authority. The money is being refunded to my card. Your parents will not be going anywhere tomorrow. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. He carefully took my hand, avoiding my injuries. Lauren, I need to tell you something. Before she passed, your grandmother made me promise to look out for you. She worried about how your mother treated you differently from Samantha. Tears gathered in my eyes. I thought she might be imagining things, he continued. Grandmothers can be protective, but I've been observing for years. I've seen the pattern. Your sister is praised for things you're criticized for. Your achievements are overlooked while hers are celebrated. You're expected to be understanding while she's allowed to be self-centered. That's just how Mom is, I said quietly. That's how we've allowed her to be, he corrected. Not anymore. There was another knock. This time it was Daniel, still in his conference suit, holding flowers and looking exhausted. When he saw me, relief crossed his face. I'm okay, I said as he kissed my forehead. We're okay. Grandpa stood. I'll give you two privacy, but before I go, is there anything else I should know? I hesitated, then told him about the $4,200 monthly transfers, the 10 years of financial support, and how I had canceled them that afternoon. Grandpa went still. You've been paying their mortgage and car expenses? I set it up when I was 19. They never knew it was me. $4,200 per month for 10 years, he calculated. That's nearly $500,000. $504,000, I confirmed. Daniel stared at me. You never told me. I didn't tell anyone. I just helped. Grandpa was silent for a long moment. Did they ever thank you? He asked. Even indirectly? Did they ever question where that extra money came from? They knew their finances improved. They saw the surplus each month. And they never wondered why? Never considered being careful with unexpected money? I hadn't thought about it that way. They spent it, I said slowly. Cruises, shopping, spa days. They helped Samantha with her down payment. I paused. They used my money to help her buy her house. And when you were in a serious accident with an 8-week-old baby, your mother couldn't give you 2.5 hours, Grandpa said, his voice cold. She accepted your support for a decade, but couldn't give you 2.5 hours. He took out his phone. I'm making a call. Rest. He stepped into the hallway, but his voice carried. Hi, Evelyn. It's Dad. No, not about the cruise. I learned something today. Did you know Lauren has been paying your mortgage for 10 years? Silence. $4,200 a month, over $500,000. The daughter you called dramatic today has been supporting you since she was 19. Another pause. She canceled the payments this afternoon from her hospital bed after you refused to help her and your granddaughter. I could faintly hear my mother's raised voice through the phone. You have 36 hours. Grandpa said firmly. 36 hours to apologize to your daughter, meet your granddaughter properly, and show even a fraction of the gratitude she deserves. If you don't, I'm changing my will. The house in Pasadena, the stocks, the savings bonds, everything goes to Lauren and Mia. More shouting. I've already contacted my attorney. The documents will be drafted tomorrow. I will not leave my estate to someone who treats her daughter with contempt and calls her granddaughter a consequence. His voice lowered. Your mother would be ashamed. I am. He ended the call. Daniel and I sat quietly as Grandpa returned, looking older but resolute. She's my daughter and I love her, he said. But love does not mean accepting unacceptable behavior. Your grandmother taught me that. Grandpa, you don't have to change your will. It's already decided in my mind. Whether she apologizes or not, you and Mia will receive the majority. I'm giving her 36 hours because your grandmother would want her daughter to have a chance to do the right thing. He kissed my forehead. Rest. I'm going to meet my great-granddaughter. Daniel, send me the address of that care service. After he left, Daniel carefully climbed into the hospital bed beside me, holding me gently. $500,000, he said quietly. We could have paid off our house. I know. We could have started Mia's college fund years ago. I know. Why didn't you tell me? I was silent for a long time, because then I'd have to admit something I already understood, that I was paying for love when it should have been given freely, that I was buying approval, and that no amount of money would make them treat me the way they treat Samantha. He held me tighter. I'm sorry. For what? For not seeing it sooner. For not protecting you. You did protect me, I said. You left Dallas in the middle of your most important presentation to be here. That's basic decency, he replied. Exactly, I said, and my mother couldn't manage even that. At 9:45 p.m., my phone rang. I declined the call. It rang again. I declined it again. Then the texts began. Lauren, we need to talk. This is a misunderstanding. Your grandfather is overreacting. I never said I wouldn't help. You didn't let me explain. You're tearing this family apart. I blocked the number. Then Samantha called. What have you done? She demanded. Mom is furious. The cruise is canceled. Grandpa is threatening to cut her out of the will, all because you had a minor accident and Mom couldn't drop everything immediately. This was not minor. I have 4 broken ribs and a fractured collarbone. You sound fine enough to cause drama. Do you know how much Mom was looking forward to that trip? Do you know how hard she works? Works? I said calmly. Samantha, I've been paying their mortgage for 10 years, $4,200 every month. That's how Mom can afford not to work. That's how Dad retired early. That's how they helped you with your down payment. Silence. You're lying. Ask Grandpa or ask Mom where she thought the extra $4,200 came from for the last decade. Even if that's true, it is. It doesn't give you the right to manipulate Grandpa. He's elderly. He's not thinking clearly. He's thinking very clearly, I said. He sees exactly what's been happening. I'm not the one blackmailing our mother with an inheritance. No, I replied evenly. You're the one benefiting while I fund it. The child who can do no wrong, while I'm always the problem. You're acting irrational. Mom loves you. Mom tolerates me as long as I'm useful, I said. Today I learned how much that usefulness is worth. 2.5 hours. She couldn't give her granddaughter 2.5 hours. She had other plans. I had a head injury. Samantha was silent for a moment. Then she said, You know what? Fine. Keep Grandpa's money. Keep your victim mentality. But don't expect sympathy when you end up alone because you pushed everyone away. She hung up. Daniel had heard the entire exchange. Are you okay? Actually, yes, I said, and I meant it. For the first time in years, I felt calm. The next morning, I was discharged with strict instructions to rest for 3 weeks. Daniel brought Mia to the hospital, and I held her for the first time since the accident. She was healthy, content, and hungry. Emily, the care specialist, had done exceptional work. She kept detailed logs of feedings, diaper changes, and sleep schedules. She even stored the breast milk the hospital helped me pump. You have a beautiful daughter, Emily said as she packed up. And you're a strong mother. Not many women could coordinate everything from an ambulance. I had help, I replied. Thank you for being there when my own mother wasn't. She gave me a thoughtful smile. Family is who shows up. Remember that. When we arrived home, flowers covered the entryway. Friends, Daniel's colleagues, and neighbors had sent bouquets and messages wishing me a smooth recovery. There was nothing from my parents. Nothing from Samantha. But there was a large package from Grandpa. Inside was a note for Mia's future because she deserves grandparents who put her first. Love, Grandpa Henry. Along with the note were savings bonds worth $60,000. I cried. The 36-hour deadline passed. No apology, no phone call, no message. The following day, Grandpa's attorney confirmed the will had been updated. Lauren and Mia Bennett were now the primary beneficiaries. My mother would receive $15,000, enough for a comfortable vacation, but not enough to maintain the lifestyle my payments had funded. 3 weeks after the accident, their mortgage payment bounced. Then their car payment failed. I know because my mother called from a number I hadn't blocked. Lauren, there must be a mistake with the mortgage. The payment didn't go through. Can you check on your end? There's no mistake, I said evenly. I canceled the payments. There was a pause. Wait, that was you? You've been sending money every month since you were 19? We thought your father's pension covered the essentials. I covered everything else for 10 years. You can't just stop, she said, panic rising. We'll lose the house. I almost lost everything when that truck hit me. I was alone in an ambulance, calling my mother for help, and she refused. I apologized for that. I called your grandfather. You called him to protect your inheritance. You never apologized to me. Silence. Mom, I gave you 10 years of financial support. I asked for nothing in return except to be treated like I mattered, like I was worth 2.5 hours during a medical emergency. You couldn't give me that. We're your parents. You can't abandon us. The irony was impossible to ignore. You abandoned me first. You chose a cruise over your daughter's emergency. I'm choosing my family now. What about loyalty? Where was your loyalty when I was being cut out of a car? Where was it when your granddaughter needed care? We can fix this. We can go to therapy. No. The word felt firm and clear. I'm done fixing things alone. I'm done paying for love that should be free. I ended the call. After that, the calls came in waves. My parents, Samantha, distant relatives. The message was consistent. I was dividing the family. I was vindictive. I overreacted. No one asked how I was healing. No one asked about Mia. No one acknowledged that refusing help during a medical crisis was the real issue. I blocked them all. Grandpa visited every week. He held Mia and told stories about her great-grandmother. He asked about my recovery. He brought groceries and helped with small tasks around the house. You're doing the right thing, he told me one afternoon. It takes courage to walk away from toxic relationships, especially when they're family. Do you think she'll ever understand? Probably not, he answered honestly. Your mother sees herself as the victim in every situation. In her story, you'll always be the ungrateful daughter, not the one who supported her for years. That's sad. It is, but it's not your job to change her perspective. Your responsibility is to Mia and to yourself. Build the family you deserve. He was right. 3 months later, I heard through a mutual acquaintance that my parents had downsized to a smaller condo, sold their car, and purchased something more affordable. My mother had taken a full-time bookkeeping job. For the first time in a decade, they were living within their means. I didn't feel satisfaction, but I didn't feel guilt either. 8 months after the accident, Daniel received a promotion. We used his bonus to strengthen Mia's college fund, along with the $4,200 monthly transfer that once went to my parents. If we continued at that rate, Mia would have over $850,000 in 17 years, money she would never need to repay, a gift given with love as parents intend. 18 months after the accident, I received a letter, not from my mother, but from Samantha. She wrote that she finally understood. Mom had asked her to start helping financially, just temporarily, she claimed. Temporary turned into monthly requests, then weekly, then nearly daily. That year alone, Mom had asked for $52,000. Samantha had given $26,000. Her marriage was under strain. When she said she couldn't give more, Mom called her selfish and ungrateful, the same words once directed at me. You weren't exaggerating, she wrote. You were being used. And when you couldn't be used anymore, you were discarded. I'm sorry I didn't believe you. I read the letter 3 times. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt tired. Instead of writing a long response, I sent a brief note. Thank you for your honesty. I hope you find the strength to set boundaries as I did. You deserve better. I'm not ready to rebuild our relationship, but I appreciate you acknowledging the truth. I didn't hear from her again, and that was acceptable. Mia is 3 years old now. She is bright, confident, and unaware of the grandmother who once called her a consequence. She knows Grandpa Henry, who visits every Sunday and tells her the same stories he once told me. She knows Daniel's parents, who traveled from Arizona to help and never complained. She understands that family is defined by presence. Last week at the park, another mother asked if Mia's grandparents ever visited. Yes, I said, watching Grandpa push her on the swing. Her grandfather comes every week. And your parents? I smiled. That's the parent who matters. Here's what I've learned in the 3 years since my accident. Some people value you only for what you provide. When you stop providing it, they reveal themselves. Believe them. Don't spend years trying to earn love that should have been freely given. Sometimes I think about the $504,000 I will never recover, money that could have changed my life in many ways. But I also think about what I gained by stepping away. Peace, dignity, clarity, and a family built on genuine care rather than obligation. That is worth more than any dollar amount. My mother sends Mia a birthday card each year. I don't open them. They go into a box in the garage. One day, Mia may choose to read them. For now, She has everything she needs: parents who choose her daily, a great grandfather who adores her, and a future built on love. If you're listening and you've been funding affection that should be free, if you've been dismissed or labeled dramatic for setting reasonable boundaries, hear this. You do not have to finance your own mistreatment. You are not required to support people who refuse to show up for you. You are allowed to protect your time, your money, and your peace. If walking away means losing those who only valued what you offered, you didn't lose family. You lost users. My name is Lauren Bennett. I'm 32 years old. I'm a mother, a wife, and a granddaughter. I once identified strongly as a daughter and sister too. But I've learned that DNA alone does not define family. Loyalty matters. Respect matters. Showing up matters. 18 months ago, my mother refused to watch my newborn because she had cruise tickets. Today, she works full-time to sustain a lifestyle she once took for granted. My grandfather updated his will to protect the granddaughter who needed support and the daughter who had given too much. We are thriving. Because sometimes the best response isn't revenge. It's building a meaningful life with the people who truly deserve to be part of it. If this story resonated with you, leave a comment and share where you're listening from. If you've set boundaries with difficult